We're looking at temperatures around that 35-degree mark for Australia. Not bad, right? Michelle Mackey joining you with your forecast for southern Ontario. A much different story as we look to our high temperatures on Saturday. But hey, in comparison to our frigid February, 7 degrees in downtown Toronto felt downright balmy. Bang on par with our seasonal average. But this is not going to last because Sunday into Monday, those temperatures, they take a nosedive until Tuesday and Wednesday when we have a southerly flow of air that really bumps those temperatures up. So you can see the yellow that's skirting past Toronto. That's an indication that we're going to be around that 10-degree mark. We'll take it. Certainly not the 35 degrees in Australia, but hey, it's better, right? Now, Sunday afternoon, don't get rid of the winter jackets quite yet. -2 is the high in downtown Toronto. Colder to the north in Barrie, -6. So if you're heading up to celebrate the first weekend of spring at the cottage, yeah, you might need those wood-burning stoves still. Monday also going to be quite chilly. So the kids going back to school after a nice March break, bundle them up. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast for Hamilton. Lots of sunshine until we get to Wednesday. But those temperatures begin to increase. 10 degrees is the expected high. But the price we pay for that, of course, is the active weather. Now, long range, as we look into next weekend, Thursday is looking like a pretty nice day. How's it looking in Toronto? A similar story. There's your active weather on the way for Wednesday. We'll continue to track that because it is hard to forecast these systems in March. They are so changeable. And, of course, the 3-day look ahead at select cities. And from around the world, we take you back home, the weather story that we are working on and our developing stories that we're also working on this hour. Genetically modified apples that do not brown, and they've been made available in Canada. I kid you not. Also, a cold snap on the way for central Canada, and of course, your long-range details. Now, let's start off the weather story in Sarnia, the St. Clair River. The ice is breaking up. Always a good sign of spring, isn't it? I'll take it. But of course, when we have ice chunks like this moving so quickly, it does run the risk of damaging some of the coastal shoreline because, yeah, that ice, it gets heavy. Now, here's a look at how much melting we've seen through the Great Lakes. A lot of this has happened within the past couple of weeks. 20% coverage now for Lake Ontario, 61% for Lake Superior. Now, because we have all of this open water now and a cold snap on the way for Sunday, you'll see these purples really begin to push down. We also have a wind coming from the northwest. Of course, that means we have the perfect recipe for some snow showers, and we could see those through North Bay, up through cottage country, but certainly not much in the way of accumulation. Now, in terms of the wind chill, don't get rid of the snow gear quite yet because you're really going to be feeling that wind chill as we get into Sunday afternoon. Here's a look at what you're going to be feeling at the warmest part of the day. Yes, so Sunday, cold but clear through the south. The sun will be shining. Monday, it's also going to be cool, but the temperatures may begin to bump up a little bit by Tuesday. And then 10 degrees for Toronto as we get into Wednesday, but we are dealing with unsettled weather. Well, I've got some good news for you. Winter, it's over and spring is here. Welcome to the first weekend of it. Michelle Mackey joining you with your national forecast, beginning with a look at our temperatures on Saturday. It continues to be mild in the west, but as we track across the Rockies, things begin to take a little bit of a dive. But Toronto, seasonal, 7 degrees, and also quite seasonal for the east, though we are dealing with some active weather. More on that in just a second. Through the overnight, though, we are going to begin to feel those temperatures plummet through Quebec, Ontario. This is a January cold that we're going to be dealing with, and that is a trend that is going to continue for eastern Canada Sunday and beyond, while the west continues to be nice and mild. I think spring came quite a bit earlier for the west, maybe in February. Does that sound about right? Monday, you can see we begin to get into some of that mild air. Calgary sitting at 1, St. John's on the east -2, Halifax -5. Coming up next, it's our social media roundup. We're having some fun on Twitter. It's the weekend, and thanks for making the Weather Network a part of it. Michelle Mackey joining you, and we have a lot to talk about. Let's begin our story in the east. Incredible footage of this snowboarder in the streets of Dartmouth. This is what 93 centimeters of snow on the ground looks like. Now, I do want to mention we are in storm watch for Atlantic Canada. We're going to be covering lots more on that throughout the hour. A messy system on the way for the Dartmouth area. But let's start with a new segment here at the Weather Network. It's called No Limits, and it's about extraordinary people doing extraordinary things despite the elements. It's hard to believe that spring is in fact here when we have scenes like that outside. Now, with it being the first weekend of spring, I put a call out on Twitter and I said, hey, spring is here. What are your farewell words to winter? Let me know and I'll put the best of them on TV, and let me tell you, I found some good ones. Now, at first I got a lot of tweets like this from Peter. He says, thank you for the opportunity, but what I have to say would not be fit for publication. In fact, this seemed to be a theme. A lot of people really not happy with what winter brought. But this was my absolute favorite. It's a snowblower in Edmonton, and he says, so you're telling me there's a chance? And yes, there is a chance. But spring-like weather, well, we may have to wait a little bit longer for that to come in Edmonton. We'll have more on that throughout the hour. Now, with spring being here, gardening is on a lot of people's minds. So here's our very own green thumb at the Weather Network, Suzanne Leonard.
Well, despite the weather outside, I can tell you here inside the Terra Greenhouse in Milton, Ontario, the climate is perfect.
Thanks, Suzanne. Spring sober, folks. Now, I want to show you a few of our articles that have been trending online. The first one that's been getting a lot of traction is about a new genetically modified apple that doesn't go brown. It's called, fittingly, the Arctic apple. Now take a look at the comparison. This is the Arctic apple after 24 hours versus a non-GMO apple that has gone brown. Lots of pros, lots of cons. Let me know your thoughts on Twitter. Now this is a fun one. The BC RCMP tweets the most Canadian photo ever. I agree. So we challenged folks on Twitter to make it even more Canadian. And my favorite one has to be our very own media guru here at the Weather Network, Alex Pope, and she put Justin Bieber in the picture for the win. We're looking at temperatures around that 35-degree mark for Australia. Not bad, right?